Today on Crash Course, we explore a core assumption of proponents of free market economics that free markets are global in nature rather than sustained within nations' borders. We'll be viewing this underlying assumption related to political economy in the perspectives of economic philosophers such as Karl Marx, Friedrich Hayek, Amartya Sen, and William H. Gates. Today's Crash Course is core assumptions about the global free market.
Firstly, we have our old friend Marx. Karl Marx believed that in the future, the working class will revolt against the capitalists and establish dictatorship. Marx claimed that the world of perfect competition, what the capitalists wanted, will never happen because workers would want fair prices while capitalists would want profit. The economic world of capitalism was a class struggle for survival, which determines everything else in human affairs. One class was always exploiting the other. He is in fact a critic of the effects of a growing capital, believing that globalization leads to increased efficiency and increased competition initially. Until it reaches a steady state, then any increase in globalization will ultimately lead to decreased competition and a higher concentration from consolidation of firms at a global level.
Amartya Sen is an Indian economist and philosopher who made contributions to the welfare economic, social choice theory, economic and social justices, and indices of the measure of well-being of citizens of developing countries. In his article, Capitalism Beyond the Crisis, he discusses the question that arises most forcefully: does the nature of capitalism need to be changed? Through this question, he follows the teachings of Adam Smith and Keynes' rival, Arthur Cecil Pigot. He continues to preach about the importance of ensuring healthcare to citizens and how it can be a long-term solution to the issues of our economy. Furthermore, he supports the idea that free markets are global in nature rather than being sustained within the nation's borders. He continues to support this theory through the ideologies of Adam Smith, which he noticed was relevant in today's economic issues. He thought that Smith showed how the freeing of trade can very often be extremely helpful in generating economic prosperity through the specialization in production and the division of labor and making good use of the economy on a large scale. In addition, he found Adam Smith's teaching similar to Paul Krugman, who received a Nobel Prize for analytical work of international trade. He noticed Smith's work was parallel to today's in establishing the market system in the corpus of the mainstream economies. Although some socialist critics, such as Karl Marx, were bringing the negative side of Smith's views, Sen interprets Smith's views as not taking the pure market mechanism to be freestanding perform of excellence. Nor did they take the profit motive to be all that is needed. In addition, Sen agrees with the fact that the economy can operate effectively only on the basis of trust among different parties. One of Sen's major priorities was ensuring that the people would be ensured health care and proper benefits. Through this, economy would be successful. In order to establish this, free markets must be global in nature rather than being sustained within nations' borders. Through free market, there would be an optimum allocation of resources, which means that the resources in the market are better distributed and allocated. Therefore, people who struggle with healthcare or famine could succeed.
William Gates Sr. is a retired attorney and a philanthropist who stresses the importance of equal opportunity in the United States. He acknowledges the fact that no kind of tax will satisfy everyone. However, taxes are necessary in order to fund the government. He believes that a government must be funded in order to support its activities and policy making. Gates also identifies the problem that taking too much tax off of consumer goods will decrease the amount of spending, which will harm the economy. He points out that if the government only taxes the wealthiest 400 people in the country, then there would be a sufficient amount of money to fund the government. He states that just by taxing the inheritance of the 400 wealthiest people via the estate tax, there will be sufficient amount of money in the system to supply the government. Gates disagrees with the idea that free markets are global in nature rather than being sustained between a nation's borders because the wealth distribution will not be the same in all countries. Taking inheritance money for tax will not work in a country that does not have as many wealthy people because there will not be a sufficient amount of money to supply the government.
Then there is great Hayek. While you might remember him from Hayek versus Keynes, he is just as influential in answering this question. As an overview, Hayek was part of the Austrian School of Economics, where its advocates believed in a hands-off approach from the government in terms of managing the economy. Hayek believed in the idea of business cycles, where the economy will grow unsustainably as a result of poor investment and low interest rates. This growth caused by abundance of credit will eventually go to a recession or a burst. Furthermore, any attempts by the government to counter unemployment by increasing the money supply will interfere with the interest rate ability to recover. According to these ideas, Hayek will support the idea that markets are global in nature. Because he did not view government attempts to control the economy as efficient, he would want an economy left to itself, which in today's terms means expanding the economy internationally. Any attempts to control it, as controlling the interest rate, will result in an unsustainable economy in the future. He believed that by applying this principle to the global market, Hayek would advocate for free trade because he viewed protectionist policies passed by governments would hamper a country's ability to grow. In his book, The Faithful Conceit, The Errors of Socialism, Hayek reasoned that the result of mankind having learned, like a single colossal body stretching itself, to extend to the remotest corners and pluck from each area different ingredients needed to nourish the whole. Hayek argued that it was the nature of a nation to expand itself to become a global market in order to sustain itself. Any attempts to keep the market within its own borders, such as the former Soviet Union and Communist China, ended up with failure or change because these countries could not support themselves with the necessary resources required for growth by closing their borders.
From Thing 8, Chang highlights increasing movement of transnationalization and a drastic measure a company will take in order to increase profit. The act of transnationalization supports the concept of a growing company having no choice to go beyond itself and to compete with other major companies to meet with capitalist social relations. Here, Chang does support the idea that in an increasingly globalized world, companies increasingly compete with other major companies from other countries for global market share. However, he still challenges the notion of a company's behavior across transnational borders. The bulk of a company's benefits might be centralized in their home country, but will expand to include foreign regulators and job slashing. As long as the company continues to provide jobs and propel the economy, there will be no restriction on foreign ownership of companies. How will this affect the globalized nature of a free market? The free economy that boasts of an unregulated system will be governed by major companies moving country to country, making investments where good prospects and doing whatever it is to increase profits.